Hello, my name is Gabby and I am the English teacher here at Options for Youth. This is English 12B, Unit 10, Performance Task 1. Yay, you made it. This is the last packet of your senior year of English. Hopefully that means all 4 years of English are pretty much done now. Congrats to you, that is amazing. We just got to get through this one last one, right? So remember, if your teacher is amazing and prints out packets for you, this is the packet that you have. This front page is a study guide. It is not mandatory. You do not have to do it. It just makes a good cheat sheet for your alternative assessments since you don't have to take tests, which is great. So for this one, you want to focus on grammar such as introductory clauses and phrases. Those are those few words, right, that make up the introduction part of the sentence. So yesterday afternoon, comma, I went to the park, right? Yesterday afternoon is an introductory clause, right? An introductory phrase is almost a whole sentence. So yesterday afternoon after going to the grocery store, comma, I put away my groceries. That's more of a phrase. Punctuation and capitalization, so remembering where to use semicolons, colons, exclamation points, periods, all that kind of stuff. And capitalization, what do you capitalize? Proper nouns, right? Names of places, people, things like that. Subject-verb agreement, so I run, she runs, it's not I runs, that's weird. Pronoun antecedent agreement, so if I say, Tim and John went to the park, they had a great time. It's Tim and John went to the park, they had a great time instead of he had a great time, right? Because it's a plural noun, pronoun. Right? They match. He doesn't match with them. Shifts in verb tense, so make sure that if you are talking in the present tense, it stays in the present tense. It doesn't switch to the ing or the ed. Active voice versus passive voice, so I ate the cookie versus the cookie was eaten by me. Sentence fragments and run-ons, so if I have something that's like, during the football game, that's a sentence fragment, right? That's not a whole sentence. Or if I say, walked funny. Who walked funny, right? I need subject, verb, object in order for it to be a complete sentence. Run-ons, that's where you have multiple sentences without the correct punctuation. You can have so many sentences in one sentence, but you have to have the correct punctuation in order to do that. So you gotta be careful. Transitional expressions, so first I did this, then I did this, next I did that, or after this thing happened, it's to transition between one thing to the next thing. Parallel structure, the dog barked, a cat meowed, so a and the are both determiners, dog and cat are both nouns, barked and meowed are both verbs. That's repetition of grammatical structure. Injustice everywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, Martin Luther King, that is also grammatical repetition. Or I went running, biking, and hiking yesterday after work. Ing, repetition of grammatical structure. It's weird if you say I went hiking, running, and for a bike ride. That sounds weird. Variety in sentence beginning, so you don't want to have every sentence sound like, I went to the store, I bought milk, I drank the milk, I put away the milk, I got cookies. It sounds really repetitive, so make sure you have variety. Figurative language, simile, metaphor, personification, imagery. All of those things I discuss further in my video on figurative language. Watch that if you're still confused. Let's see. Concepts, summarize poetry. So reread poetry multiple times, make sure you understand every part of it, then accumulate that into a summary. Essential message, so that's kind of the theme, right? Was it they're trying to get you to learn. Imagery, appealing to the five senses, so seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touching. Irony, the opposite of what's expected. There's verbal, situational, and dramatic irony. Again, I have another video on that if you're confused. Philosophical assumptions, so assuming certain things of someone. So I assume you want to pass this class, right? That's an assumption that I have. I assume that you think that hurting animals is bad, right? Those are assumptions that I make. Social commentary, so if I'm commenting on what's going on as a society, like if I make assumptions about people who wear masks or don't wear masks, that is social commentary. Victorian literary forms, that's on page 952 of your textbook. Context, so looking at it in the situation that it is in and not taking it out of that. Author's purpose, why did they write it that way, right? What did they write 4. Rhetorical devices, again, I have a video on that. There's ethos, logos, and pathos. There's also all of the like rhetorical questions and logical fallacies and things like that. Stream of consciousness, that's just saying what exactly is on your mind with not a lot of thought or structure. It's just straight up saying what is on your mind. Types of sonnets, that's going to be on R32 of your textbook. Story within a story. That's those framed narratives like The Never-Ending Story or things like that. Historical investigation, that's the report that you started last unit. Okay, so that's pretty much that stuff. Your vocab is, I'm gonna try to read it. I'm gonna try. Symmetry, teeming, fastidious, brink, paltry, skeptical, keenly, appalled, incessant, furtive, I think. Don't quote me on that. You're going to have 3 performance tasks for this unit, so that will be Lesson 22, Activity 10, Lesson 25, Activity 21, and Lesson 25, Activity 23. And then lastly, you won't have a test. You're going to have an alternative assessment review or check for understanding, whatever it is you want to call it. Again, if you have these super awesome packets, your performance tasks are way down here. If you don't, they're in the packet somewhere. I don't know which one I prefer, let's be honest. So for performance task 1 of this unit, you've already read a lot of Oliver Twist. Okay, so you've read Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist wasn't put out as a book like that. It was put out in monthly installments. So like every time the newspaper came out, right, there would be another part to it. It's kind of like TV shows now. Like every week they put out a new show and then you get to watch it, right? It's not this whole giant, now we have Netflix so we can binge it, but it wasn't like that before. So it took him over 2 years to write that story, and the story was different than he set out to write. So for this activity, you're going to create the next monthly installment of Oliver Twist. So you're trying to think about what Oliver Twist did, right? What do you want him to do now? Your story is going to be a 2 to 3 page installment with 1.5 line spacing, 12-point font, Times New Roman, Arial, something like that. You're going to edit it and revise it to make sure that it's, you know, where you want it to be. But you're just going to basically talk about Oliver's next activity, adventure, right? And you're going to include some of the characters from Oliver Twist. So look at your checklist here. Did you maintain a constant tense, so past or present tense? Did you, let's see, create a compelling conflict, or was it just kind of stream of consciousness weird? So you want to make sure you have a conflict, right? So remember, conflict are those internal or external conflicts. So did he get into like a physical fight with somebody? Was he trying to get through a storm to make it somewhere? Is he struggling internally with like trying to go back somewhere? Or is he struggling internally with the loss of someone? Like, what is the conflict? Do you follow a sequence of events that builds upon the novel? Like, does it make sense? Are your characters interesting and detailed? Is your narrator's point of view well established and maintained? So did you do first person point of view, third person point of view limited, or third person omniscient? Does your dialogue move the plot forward and involve the other characters' personalities? Do you have punctuation in your dialogue? So remember to review that if you're uncomfortable with it. Did you proofread? And then did you format correctly? This is going to be worth 15 points. This is the rubric that I'm going to use to grade you. So you have to make sure your narrator, plot, and characters are developed successfully with narrative techniques, right? So imagery, dialogue, that kind of stuff. The plot builds on the novel effectively and creates a coherent whole. If you do that, you get 3 points, and you've proofread and edited correctly. That will get you 3 points. So in order to pass this, 15 times 7, you have to get at least 11. At least 11 in order to pass this. If you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, next video will be about performance task.